And we're back. Worth your salt. Chapter 8. When I had taken wood shop in the 9th grade, I had seen the plans for a hidden compartment built into a desk. It was fascinating to me. It was so well hidden there was no way to tell that it was there. I asked my instructor if I could get a copy of the plans and see if I could build one for my own desk at home, and he agreed. It took me over a month of secret work to build the box and then make the modification to my desk to install it. But when I was done, it was invisible. The reason I had built the hidden compartment was I wanted to be able to keep money in it. It was sort of a savings account that didn't draw interest. It was just a nest egg of money I was building for some unknown thing in the future. I'd been saving about a third of all the money I had since then, and now I had a little over $500 in it. Not a lot for a grown-up with a family, but a good bit of money for a kid. Now I triggered the hidden mechanism that opened the secret compartment, and I took out the money and counted again. It was all there. Sticking the money in my pocket, I closed the compartment and shot out the door to put into action the idea that had come to my mind while lying in bed last night. First, I went to the store that specialized in uniforms. I told the salesman what I was looking for, and he promptly showed me where it was located. I tried the pants on first, then the shirt. Once satisfied with the fit, I went looking for the black belt and black boots, which they also had. I bought two belts and 2 pairs of boots, and a new United States flag for the restaurant. Next, I went and bought an ironing board, and 2 cans of starch. Once everything was in my car, I went and sat in the barber's chair. "What would you like for me to do for you?" the barber asked me. "I want a normal haircut," I told him. "Normal? Like mine?" "Yes." "Excellent," he said. And then I watched as large chunks of hair fell across the barber's shroud I was wearing. It was hard to believe I was doing this. I really loved my long hair, but things were changing my life, and I had to change with them. When he was done, I looked in the mirror and was astonished at what I saw. I looked younger. That was not what I wanted to see. At once, I began to have second thoughts about my idea. Perhaps I had made a mistake. "That looks excellent," the barber told me. "You look very smart." "Older, I think." "Really?" I asked, surprised by this. "Absolutely. All you need is a uniform, and the girls will not leave you alone." I smiled at that. I just so happened to have 3 in my car. Hurrying home, I starched and pressed all my uniforms. Then I ran a clean rag over my shoes just to knock the dust off them. Then I jumped in the shower. When I pulled up into my parking spot behind Furman's car, I wondered what everybody was going to think about the change in me. I knew I already felt different about myself. I was amazed at the change in my appearance when I put my uniform on and stood in front of my mirror. I grabbed the new United States flag I had brought to replace the worn and shredded one, and then walked the distance to the restaurant. When I walked through the front door, I heard Miss Fine. "Would you look at John?" she gushed. "Oh my God, he is so handsome." Then all the waitresses were around me, smiling and touching my uniform and running their hands in my hair and across my freshly shaven face. "Look at you," Maria said. "You're going to have all the muchachas after you now." The pretty red-haired waitress said playfully, "What are you doing after work tonight?" Miss Fine touched my new hat that had taken a red marker to and written my name on it and said, "Look, he's got his name on his hat like Furman's." Was I blushing? Yes. Did I love the attention? Of course. But I really wanted to know what Furman was going to think of the change in me. So I handed the flag to Miss Fine and told her I would put it up later, and extricated myself from all the female attention and made my way back to my station. I purposely did not look at Furman when I walked past him, so I do not know if he saw me, but I knew he would eventually. There were some dirty dishes waiting to be put into the dishwasher, so I arranged them all so they would get clean and turned the machine on. Then I took the next 20 minutes or so just straightening my station. I wanted it as spotless as I knew I was. Once the dishes were finished, I took the time to look at each dish. I wanted to make sure each dish was perfectly clean. If not, back in the dishwasher it would go. You know how when you're preoccupied with something, you get the feeling you're being watched? Well, that's how I suddenly felt. So I looked up to see Furman staring at me with his hand on his chin. Clearly his mind was working some idea in it, but by his expression I could not tell what it might have been. Then just as curiously, he walked off. I shrugged my shoulders and went back to work. I had hoped to make an impression on him, but I didn't know if I had. The next day, as soon as I walked through the door, a waitress told me Furman wanted to see me before I did anything. When I asked her what it was about, she said she had no idea. I walked back into the kitchen, and Furman turned his head to me. He held up one finger, which I took to mean he would be with me in a minute. I was correct, and as soon as he had pushed 2 plates of food off the shelf for the waitress to pick up, he came over to me, put a gentle hand on my shoulder, turned me around, and we walked back to the back of the kitchen alone. There was a box sitting on the floor, and Furman went right to it and opened it up. The first thing he pulled out was a tropical white Garrison hat. My name had been sewn on it in red thread. He reached up, took off my hat, and replaced it with this new one. Then he reached in the box and pulled out a can of black paste wax and a fine cotton rag. "Boot, por favor," he said. "Boot, please." I handed him one of my boots, and then he proceeded to show me how to polish it so I could see my reflection in it. I was astonished. I had no idea this was possible to do. Then he had me polish some on the boot. When I did it correctly, or when I did it incorrectly, he stopped me and showed me what I was doing wrong, and then how to do it correctly. After I was doing it correctly, he told me to put my boot back on, and he gave me the polishing rags. Then he pulled from his box a can of brass soap. He showed me how to clean my brass buckle I wore on my black belt. He explained I would have to polish the buckle a while just to take off the coating they put on the buckle at the factory. But once I had done that, the buckle would shine as nice as his did. I stayed up until almost midnight polishing my shoes and buckle, but once I was finished, they looked almost as good as Furman's. When I returned to work the following day, Furman walked right up to me, looked down at my boots, looked at my buckle, ran his finger underneath my freshly shaven chin. Then he squared my shoulders, raised his chin, prompting me to do the same. He said, "Furman knew." Yes, Furman knew. "You worth your salt," he smiled, and walked away. How can I explain how wonderful he made me feel? This man I so admired was proud of me. He knew there was something special about me, even when I didn't know it myself. And that is when I realized Furman had done more for me than I could have ever believed. Not only was he proud of me, I was becoming proud of myself. And it was changing the person I had been. He was helping me become the man I was going to be. He was teaching me I could become whatever I wanted to be. He was teaching me how to change my attitude, and with that change would come the change in my behavior. The boy would be gone, and the man would emerge, a man I would be proud of. I now knew that when that man is proud of himself, he allows himself to see his capabilities, things he was unable to see before. I'll see you more.